So we'll start a little early, but since you're all here, why wait? We have a great morning waiting for us. Fantastic program. My name is Jaakko Tapaninen. I will be your moderator this morning. I run a small content agency called Greatpoint. I host a podcast called 10x Finland and also host a podcast for Helsinki Design Week called Helsinki Design Week Podcast, which brings me here since Helsinki Design Week is one of the organizations that make this morning possible. First, a few practicalities. And also, hello, everybody out there. There's a live stream. There will be people on YouTube and Facebook following us this morning. And also, if you want to participate through Twitter, the hashtag is, of course, PingStudio. We are going to run the whole program without any breaks. But if you feel like you need a coffee break or a bio break, feel free to do that. Ladies and gents are right out as you exit the door to your left next to the reception, and coffee will be served throughout the whole morning. So go out there and get a coffee, and we should have a relaxed, nice morning. Why are we here? It says how to leverage design thinking. Let's say we are here for two reasons at least. The old sort of traditional idea of design. Let's not forget that, like how things look and feel. That's very important. Ping Festival, Ping Studios wouldn't exist without that dimension. So we will be talking about that too. Why things look the way they look. Why did I make these choices? How does it serve my purpose? But then we will, of course, get very contemporary and talk about design thinking. How can we apply methods of design into tackling different kinds of challenges, whether it's service design or people flows or even finding a purpose for a company. There are so many things you can apply that to, and we will look at many of those this morning. We will kick off with a short word from Inna in a second, Inna Pirjatta, and after that we will go directly into our keynote that is actually on design on purpose. Design as a purpose. That's the keynote this morning. A little bit more about that in a second. After the keynote, we will take a few questions and then move to case presentations, how to apply design thinking into very practical cases. We will be talking about Clarion. There will be a case by Avaus Marketing and a case by Evermade. And then in the end, we'll invite two fantastic influencers up here, and we will talk about both visual design and also how to apply design thinking into running different channels and reaching out to different sort of people. But without further ado, Inna Pirjatta, could you come up here and... Oh, I'm sorry. That was the first Tulia from Clarion. Please welcome us to this building.
Curious about you guys, so I need to do a little research. For how many of you this is the first time visiting Clarion Hotel Helsinki? Raise your hand if it's the first time. Okay, not so many. That's great result. We are living exciting times because next month the Clarion hotels in Finland are turning 2 years old, so we will have nice birthday parties coming up. And also this week is really exciting since it's the Helsinki Design Week that started yesterday, and we are again this year an official partner, but I will tell you more about that later. And design for us is of course really important. It's in our daily lives, and I will also tell you more about that later. So welcome all, and I hope you will have an exciting day today. Thank you.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Tulia. That was I hope that was like the only blunder today. Let's hope. Let's hope. But now it's time for Inna Pirjetta to from Ping Festival and Ping Helsinki, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jaakko, and welcome everybody. This is the first Ping Studio of the autumn, and I feel really honored that this is so full house that it's going to be a standing audience. But let's rotate then between the speeches so that everybody can also stand for a moment. So don't worry, you don't have to stand for the entire 2 hours. What is Ping Helsinki? How many of you are for the first time in Ping Helsinki event or Ping Studio or whatever? Quite many. I'm so happy to welcome all of the new people to Ping Studio and Ping Helsinki network. So we are a network of influencers and companies wanting to work with influencers. And besides, we are also a company who is the leading influencer relations agency in Finland. So we work both with independent influencers and also with influencer and content and marketing agencies. And all our work based to the Ping ethics, the ethical code that we have created together with our partners and influencers and companies. And also we are doing research, influencer marketing research, now for 2 years already. And what I'm going to go through now is the latest influencer marketing results from Finland and also some results internationally. And what we then do, how we can help you to design your marketing. We are happy to design you human-to-human strategies. Of course, we also offer influencer matchmaking service, which means that we are happy to help you to find the right influencers, to find the right ways to work with influencers. And then, of course, service design. That's very important and interesting. And we have had great example with Tallink Silja. We have lots of people from Tallink Silja here today. We created a great project with them last year where we designed the entire vegan menus on their ships. So that's a way how we can bring influencers to be part of the service design of companies. And of course, we are happy to organize not only our own events, but to help you to create great events for influencers and also for the industry. But how and why we believe that influencers are redesigning the entire marketing field? When we look the latest figures, they are projecting that the influencer marketing is really growing fast. And it's not only about blog posts or YouTube videos. It's about those brands and publications and publishers that are there in the world today. When it was asked from the advertisers who have already used influencer marketing, they reported over 10 times higher results of investment compared to other marketing methods that they have used. And almost all the marketers that have used influencer marketing have reported positive results through the activities that they have done. Of course, to be able to report positive results means that you also have to have goals that you will measure during the activities that you are doing. And this is pretty new results from the World Federation of Advertisers from July 2018. 65% of brands internationally plan to spend more money to influencer marketing during the coming year. And in the spring, Forbes was asking millennials what kind of relation they have towards ads. And most of them hate them. But if the ads are related to relevant influencer content, then the attitude is much more positive. And especially if the sponsoring or the product or the service is inside in the content, part of the story that the influencers are telling, then the attitude is totally different. Almost 90% are thinking that's a positive way of thinking. And why they think of that? It's the reason because everybody who are watching the YouTube and consuming the new media, the new entertainment, which is like when I'm watching my children, they are 9, 10 and 15, much bigger than any other medium in their lives. That's the way how it's possible for them. As we all know that all the commercial medias, they have to be monetized somehow. Either you have to watch the advertisements on the advertisement pauses, or you have to pay Yle tax to be able to monetize it. So that's kind of the part of the game, and the young people who are consuming mostly the way, and also not only the young people, like that was exactly yesterday some results that for example in Finland, if you look the readers of the blogs, there are actually quite many of them are over 40 years old, like me. And why the brands are using influencer marketing? The most important reason is to boost the awareness. And then, of course, also to reach new audiences. And then to improve brand advocacy. Of course, there are also direct sales goals, depending on the products, and different goals, and then different ways of measure them. The most important standard for choosing influencers is, of course, the quality of the followers. That has been a big discussion during the past years, because as we all know, you can also buy the followers, you can buy the likes, you can even buy the comments. And that's the reason why it's very important that when choosing the influencer, you don't just watch their channels, but you actually know the people, you know the humans who are supposed to deliver your message to the consumers that you wanna, or the business target group that you wanna reach. As someone of you can think that, okay, this is something that it has nothing to do with me, I always say that it's the same thing that in Finland we have this thing called lauantai-tanssit. So if you go to the dance hall and you have miesten haku, so all the men are standing on one line and the women are standing on the other side of the hall, and then it's the time that the men should go and ask the women to dance. So you can choose if you go to ask someone or not. And those people who go and ask, they will dance more during the evening. So that's the same game with the social media and the content marketing and the influencer marketing. If you decide to dance, then you will dance more. If you just stay standing there, then you are just watching when other people are dancing. We also asked why the influencers are actually influencing so much to the audiences. And we asked this also from the Finnish advertisers together with Mainostajien Liitto last spring. And they said that it's mostly influential when we are trying to affect people's attitudes. And today, if we think all these environmental issues and important things happening around us, it's even more important that we can reach out to the people to show them what are the attitudes that we have to try to affect. Approximately 20% of Finnish consumers trust advertising. In this study, we interviewed 1,000 Finnish consumers between 15 and 65 years. And 44% trust bloggers or influencers' recommendations and experiences. And 80% of them have at least considered buying a product based on this human-to-human marketing, meaning influencer cooperation, influencer marketing. This study has been concluded together with Dagmar. Dagmar has been our partner for the study already for 2 years in a row. And what the audience actually want from the influencer then? They want relevant content that is actually helping them in their lives. And that's also, if you are in B2B business, you might think that, okay, this is something for B2C brands or B2C services, but that's not true. This is the exactly same need in B2B business. So human-to-human marketing, as we are here also now in B2B business, this is human-to-human marketing. We are meeting each other in real life, and we will continue this discussion then in digital channels. why the people are watching or consuming the influencer marketing. One very important thing is, of course, to find inspiration and, of course, also to entertain yourself. We have asked different channels, but I think that more than to think the different channels, it's important to think that this is like multimedia if we are talking about influencer marketing. So it's not only a blog post or only some rented media, but you can also use the influencer cooperation in your paid campaigns, in your own channels, and even in PR work. We have got really good results. In general, we can say that the people who are under 30, they are looking for more inspiration and ideas. And again, then the people over 30 are looking more for information in general. This is, of course, important to remember when you think who are your target group and who are the right influencers who will affect them. And of course, we all want to be relevant for the audiences. And when you're working with the right influencers, the advertisers believe that they can be relevant for the target group that they want to reach out. One thing that I want to point out is the personality, because we are all persons here, we are all humans, and we are the reason why most of the people in social media are following someone or something. Most of the people are not following companies, they are not so interested about company stories. Of course, we have great examples of also of company stories, like, for example, in Finland, Marimekko. But also behind the story of Marimekko, we have a person, we have Armi Ratia. So it's always a question about the personality, and in some cases the personality can be transferred also to the company brand. The most used channels by advertisers in this international study released in July is Instagram, and then the second, Facebook and YouTube. In Finland, the biggest channel that advertisers saw the most interest in this study that we concluded together with Dagmar is blogs. So it's interesting to see how internationally Instagram is already bigger. And the study that we have concluded here in Finland, you can download the entire report from our website, pinghelsinki.fi. And then, of course, the question remains how to measure. So the most used KPIs are, of course, reach and views. That's pretty straightforward. But I think that at least as important as the reach and views is also the engagement. And that's good news for everybody who are marketing their products and services here in Finland, that in general, in Finland, for example, our Instagram influencers have much higher engagement than, for example, in Sweden. Even though that the number of followers is, of course, in many cases much smaller. And also, of course, for Ping Helsinki and for GreatPoint and for all the other companies working in this industry, it's wonderful to see that internationally the external resources are already a must for quite many companies. And that's, of course, where we also want to come into the picture and help you with. And I want to show you in the last our service design example. So we have designed a business event concept. Of course, this Ping Studio is one of these examples, but Ping Festival has been now run for 4 years, and nowadays is the biggest influencer marketing event in Northern Europe. This spring we gathered here in Clarion Hotel Helsinki 750 people from 12 different countries, and I have to say that the program was pretty impressive. And now I will show you a short video so you will get a taste of Ping Festival feeling, and since you are now here in Clarion Hotel, you can also see how we designed the entire event place concept during our event.
The best thing with Ping Festival is definitely the networking. It's such a unique and exciting experience to be part of.
I just think Ping is such an important meeting place where influencers meet marketing people, and that might sound like a simple thing, but it's actually a very unique, special and important meeting.
I just think it's like super inspiring when you have a whole room of people who are there like listening and trying to find like new ways of doing things.
I love the combination of the marketeers and the influencers being present at Ping Festival because the vibes are just great and it really gives a dynamic atmosphere.
I've never been to an event like this. I go to a lot of marketing and digital events, but the feeling in the audience is a little bit indescribable, and I know that could sound vague, but the excitement in the room is infectious. So come for the people.
So that's just an example how to rethink a business event. And that's also an example of the 4 elements that we brought into the business event. And we believe that in all human-to-human encounters, it's very important to bring these 4 elements into the discussion or table, even in the digital media, even in the social media. And without longer words, I want to wish you a wonderful morning, and I hope that we will design the future and the marketing together. And now I will give my mic back to Jaakko. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inna. I really enjoyed your example of lauantai-tanssit, the Saturday dance. But I'd like to continue a little bit on that. You mentioned that the people line up on different walls, and then the boys have to work up their courage and go ask the girl to dance. But to guarantee customer satisfaction, there is also the naistenhaku, so that the ladies can also go and ask the shy boy to dance. And I was wondering what the shy boy could do in the social media. And the one thing that came to my mind is publish fantastic photos on Instagram. I think there are a few shy boys out there who are doing fantastic social media work. But now we're moving on. But before we move on, I'd really like to thank 4 organizations, companies that are making all this possible. The first is Avaus Marketing Innovations. Some of them are here. Can you wave your hands from Avaus? There are a few Avaus people here. They are a really cool company if you want to understand how to use marketing tools in today's world. Then there's Evermade. Evermade will be up here later on. You're from Evermade? Cool. You can tell us more about that. Then, of course, we already heard from Clarion, and we will hear a little more from Clarion. And then Helsinki Design Week. There was year from Helsinki Design Week. Cool. You'll be up in a moment. And Helsinki Design Week kicked off just yesterday, so enjoy all the wonderful things that they have to offer. But now we're moving on to the keynote. We'd, of course, all love to have a purpose for our life. We'd like to work in a group that has a purpose for its existence. We'd like to work for companies that have a purpose. And this is becoming more and more important. We talk about the millennial mindset and all that, but at the same time, it has to do with the world has become so complex that the so-called big stories that people used to work, it was enough. The purpose was something like the welfare state or the independence of our country or something, or the European Union. But all those things are becoming so complex that we're looking for like we really need that purpose somewhere else, and it's often the workplace, often the organization we're working for. And you can approach that in many ways, and you can think that some of them do have a purpose, they have inherited it. Some of them don't, or it's kind of fuzzy. But you don't need to sort of leave it at that. Our next speaker will talk about how we could look at the purpose as an operating system of a company, and you can actually use design thinking to work on your purpose, even come up with a purpose. So, Ville Tikka from Wevolve, how do you pronounce it? Wevolve. Please, the floor is yours.
Cool. All right, lovely. Thanks, and very, very good morning for all of you. Yeah, my name is Ville. I come from company and agency and boutique consultancy called Wevolve, and we work a lot with the concept of purpose. The first time I encountered the whole idea that, of course, well, the idea of purpose is age-old, but the idea of purpose in organizational or in a company context was almost on a date 10 years ago. I just moved to New York to work for Nokia to do exploration on future trends, directions that fed back to the business strategy on many levels, from brand strategy to design strategy and research and development strategy and so forth. I moved to the country where the financial crash happened, where the consequences were the worst. In the moment, people felt desperate. Everybody was trying to understand what happened, trying to refigure and reconfigure their lives. And all of a sudden, the discussion went to the concept of purpose. Why are we here? What the hell are we doing? What just happened? And what we're supposed to do next? As a consequence, like a year later, I initiated the first social innovation strategy project for the company. We started to explore the purpose of Nokia. How could it actually do something that mattered? How could it do something more than just connecting people? What could it be? We did research basically on 3 continents, invited experts, people from different areas of life to help us to deal with the really complex topic, and ended up to a concept that went along the lines of empowering human potential, which back in the day was quite provocative and actually progressive too. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. The CEO changed. Most of the good ideas went straight to the trash bin. A year later, I left the company and founded my own company to do actually things that were left undone in the corporate world. My background is in social science and design, and I think that a combination of understanding the society and bringing that back in the different aspects of how we actually work together is what really drives organizations today. So how we think purpose, this is the boring part to begin with. Or rather, depends on your kind of orientation. So organizational design is what we do, and it's in a way the art and science of aligning a company's or organization's strategies, structures, systems and habits to fulfill its purpose. You could think this as this Russian doll, Matuska, as an analogy for understanding what are the aspects you need to kind of reconfigure in order to understand what your purpose really is and being able to translate that into practice. We've been lucky to work with a variety of different companies, organizations, NGOs, really helping, for example, Suunto to understand how they could change people's lives, or Iittala to understand where's the future direction of the age-old brand now to get back to people's everyday lives in new ways. But back to purpose. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Familiar with the tagline? So this was the Nike's new campaign to celebrate the 20-year birthday of Just Do It tagline. The face was Colin Kaepernick, the NFL quarterback for San Francisco 49ers, who was the first player to sit down during the national anthem in 2016, to make the point that the policies of the Trump administration were not fair. The Black Lives Matter movement was something that they wanted to give a voice for. And later he started kneeling in the beginning of the matches together with other players, and Trump ended up describing the guy as son of a bitch. Why Flat Earth movement with the slogan? Kyrie Irving, another Nike's top player, playing basketball for Boston Celtics. He's been a vocal advocate for Flat Earth movement for the past years. Funnily enough, these two kind of totally different purposes came together to form this new Nike meme about the purposes that the company stands for. And I think it makes a quite nice contrast, the juxtaposition between the idea of really believing in something, believing that the earth is flat, even if it means sacrificing everything, and you see yourself kind of falling from the endpoints of the earth. But why purpose? I guess we all know it, even if most of us, at least in our daily lives, are in a denial mode. Hey, everything is okay. But it's not. I would argue that it's not. And this is probably no news for you either. This is the Starjet roller coaster swept into the Atlantic Ocean by the Hurricane Sandy in 2012. We've grown really familiar, really accustomed to these types of images of daily destructions that happen all around us. It's not only climate crisis, but it's increasing inequality. It's about the massive technological shifts that shape the way how democracy works. We're in the midst, and I know this is tourism, but we are in the midst of really, really mind-blowingly complex, earth-shaking events that shape the lives we will live and our kids will live. And this is the moment that 10 years ago happened when the finance or the economy crashed, when people started to ask, why are we here? What are we supposed to do with all this mess? So purpose, in a way, is a paradox. It's the way we now start to question the role of our common being, our common belonging, why we are here. But it's a paradox because it's not just the idea that we are here for something, but it only becomes true when we start to make it true. So in a way, purpose, as now famously drawn by M. Escher in the Penrose stair paradox, visual kind of optical illusion, where you go in two directions constantly without ascending or descending anywhere. So in a way, purpose is very similar to that. It's both the cause for our being, our actions, our belonging, and it's the effect, what happens because of us. If one of these parts is missing, there is no purpose, no true purpose whatsoever. Trying to understand where my personal or your personal purpose lies, or where the organization's purpose, or the brand's purpose, or the company's purpose is, happens when you start to kind of interrogate, explore these two different domains, looking the world through these two different lenses in a way. Understanding what the world really needs. What are the problems that we feel collectively or individually strongly about? Being reflective about the issues, the challenges around us. And then being able to actually look deep inside into us. Kind of understand what are our or my superpowers to deal with those complexities and challenges. Somewhere in the between start to happen the little magic, the little new ideas about the possibilities to actually do something, change the things as they are. And that's the domain for purpose. It's really simple framework in many ways, but at the same time a very powerful one. And I'm warmly recommending you guys to maybe try it in your daily lives. Start to think, what are the things that I really feel about? What are the issues that are important for me or important for the people around me? And then trying to understand, so if I would have superpowers, if I would have a cape, so what would I do? And with superpowers, we usually mean something that we could use either for good or bad. Something that is so powerful that it actually makes a difference around us. But, as we know, there are many different kinds of purposes. We hear that the construction companies are now telling us that creating a beautiful city with one building at a time. And then we are, yeah, sounds nice. Is this really something that is needed? A more beautiful city? Yeah, could be nice. But is it actually all you can do? And I would argue that no, it's not. There are many kinds of purposes. Some of them are flat earth purposes, and for me, kind of creating a more beautiful city is a similar type of a concept as a purpose as the flat earth purpose. But if you really want to kind of challenge the way you think about your purpose, I would recommend 3 kind of design principles. First deals with the concept and idea of infinity. The idea of time is an interesting one. We as a species suffer from this thing called future myopia. So we are really good at kind of looking close, understanding things that are in our vicinity. But the further things go, either in space or in time, the worse we get in actually understanding what happens, what's out there. We don't see, we don't get it. Hence the idea of infinity. The idea that if we start to look further, if we start to use the tools of foresight, futures thinking in our advance in understanding the different trajectories the world could take, we can actually start to understand different venues, different possibilities for new kinds of purposes. The burning forests this summer in Greece show that the kind of big shifts are really surprising in many ways, destroying miles and miles of beautiful landscape in the most pristine coastal area of Greece. Infinity is an interesting concept also because it changes how we think about things. Quite often we think that purpose or our mission is something that, and this comes mostly probably from kind of military strategy and the ideas where the strategy comes from to begin with, is to organize your troops and you conquer a hill, and then when you've done it, you've accomplished your mission. And we think that purpose is similar to the idea of a mission. But I would again argue that it's not. It should be something that is actually not achieved ever. Something that is unachievable, because then we are thinking big enough. Your purpose could be like with, I guess you're familiar with the purpose of Patagonia. Fight the climate crisis. Can you fight it? Can you win the fight? Probably not. Never. It's a fight that continues ever. But they're still taking that task, organizing everything they do around this idea. So, purpose as an infinite concept helps us to think bigger, helps us to actually understand new ways we can organize our collective being around things. Second concept that I would recommend you to using is the idea of intersectionality. This comes, of course, from feminism, and it's an old concept, but at the same time, I think it's have been gaining now really steam in the past few years as we start to understand how these complex issues, from race to class to sexuality and so forth, are now very intertwined, connected to each other. And through understanding these connections, through understanding the society through these power structures, helps us to also understand the possibilities where we could actually change our social world the most. For example, many brands here, Vacuera from New York, has been really rethinking their whole line, that every piece is totally unisex. There is no difference between genders in the way they use or they create the clothes and so forth. When they cast the models, they use all the variety of different sexual orientations to showcase really the fact that we are the same. But I think you can use the intersectionality as a concept to really rethink what are the biggest possibilities for us to do something that matters. Why is that so? Is basically because, again, we suffer from this idea that we're always biased. So basically, we think that the purposes that matter us the most are the ones that are closest to us. So for example, we end up thinking that, hey, creating the most beautiful Helsinki is the biggest purpose we could have. But actually, it could be something totally different when we would open up our vistas and think through these concepts of connected challenges. The last concept is interdependence. The idea that everything, again, is connected. We are connected. Everything happens through action in a complex network of things, people, ideas. Interdependence, I think that's the one fundamental concept of the complexity theory applied to the social context of organizations and people. Complex theory, I think it's the way that has transformed in the recent years the way we think economy, but also the way we think our social lives, or companies for that matter, or brands. There are no clear directions. Nothing can be think linearly anymore. Everything is networked. Everything is complex. And when we think and get that idea back to the context of purpose, we understand that there can never be one single purpose for anything. There are always several different simultaneous purposes that need to be discussing, need to be interacting with each other. And I think that idea gets back to us, to the initial example of how kneeling for Black Lives Matter meets with the flat earth theory. The absurdity of different purposes now talking with other under one brand. the purpose of the brand, to give clarity, or their purpose is then to help us to understand what are the actual messages that matter. So I decided that Nike came up with nice video, kind of this emotional tearjerker stuff. Yesterday, to continue this celebration, and gave Colin Kaepernick the possibility to actually narrate the whole thing. I think this should play here, but if it doesn't, we'll get back to that. If okay, this is no, not that one. Just a sec. Plays from here. All right.
If people say your dreams are
Sorry about that. Full screen not available. This should be fixed. Now give me full screen. Yeah. Yeah, you're your partners. Thanks. More videos. No thanks. Oh man. Okay, this is embarrassing, but it's not me, it's technology. Once more. Yeah. Perfect. Here we go. 2 minutes of
if
emotion.
people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way. Because what non-believers fail to understand is that calling a dream crazy is not an insult. It's a compliment. Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Don't picture yourself wearing OBJ's jersey. Picture OBJ wearing yours. Don't settle for homecoming queen or linebacker. Do both. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. Don't believe you have to be like anybody to be somebody. If you're born a refugee, don't let it stop you from playing soccer for the national team at age 16. Don't become the best basketball player on the planet. Be bigger than basketball. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand, don't just watch football, play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough. So that's it. All right, now apparently. So this is it. Back to that. By Jaakko. But that was basically my last slide. The last one would have been thanks. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Ville. Can you stay here for 5 minutes for questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Before I start misusing the opportunity, meaning my position here to ask him all the questions that are on my mind after this very provocative and interesting presentation, would someone in the audience have a question? Okay, while you're thinking those, you consult on these things.
Yeah.
How do you sell this to the C-level guys, because these were quite difficult concepts, and a lot of them think that that's like, yeah, I like what you're talking about, but listen, next quarter we got to concentrate on that. And yeah, like our folks would like that, but you know, this is really about money. This isn't about infinity.
Yeah.
How do you help them to understand that really to find the best people, you have to have a purpose and really work on it?
That's a great question. I would say that back in the day it used to be like that. I needed to do the selling, and I think it was really a hard sell to do. But increasingly, I think now I work with people who are already believing in.
How do you find the believers?
Yeah, I think the believers find me and us.
Fantastic content.
But
marketing.
in a way, I think that's where we're now in the very heart of the kind of issue. What is the kind of mental shift that needs to happen in order us to question kind of the, in a way, the traditional old concept of economy, old concept of companies that exist for creating profit? Because always they do something else. Always there are different kind of impacts, both positive and negative ones. How do we understand that it's part of the same package? And now people are starting to understand that, yeah, that's the case. And this is the moment when purpose comes to the picture, and we need to kind of refigure and why are we doing this? And it's also in a way nowadays an easy sell because there's a lot of research to help with the message that it changes everything you do, both kind of commercial point of view as well as from organizational point of view. Makes people more happy, more productive, etc., etc.
Which are your favorite examples of companies? If I'm a CEO or you're trying to sell this to me, and like, so who's made money with this?
Yeah. Everybody nowadays seems to know Patagonia, so I think they doubled their profits in the 4 years when they started to actually implement purpose in everything they do.
And I have a feeling this one's going to turn out good for Nike in the long
yeah.
run, although they're having troubles. Yeah, there's a question.
So, hey, I have a question. I think these are very important issues that you're mentioning here, important topics. And one thing that I struggle with is that you probably have also hit in your line of work is companies using this for marketing rather than actually changing the company culture or the vision of that company or mission of that company. So how do you feel that sort of divide between those things? Sort of, yeah, sounds great. I think people will love this if we start using this in our marketing rather than actually changing the way that the company works.
Yeah, I think that's one of my pet peeves in a way. I would say my answer is twofold. So first of all, more and more companies now realize that kind of brand is built from the inside. It's not what you say, it's not even what people say about you, but it's about what our own people do and the people around us do. So the only way to have a true purpose, a real purpose, is to help your people live with the purpose. So it can't be kind of plastered on top of what you do, but it needs to emerge from the inside. So I think that's one way to deal with it. Other way probably is to also understand that having a strong brand purpose can help change the whole organization. So I think that happened, for example, with IBM back in the day when they kind of sold their laptop business to Lenovo and came up with this kind of B2B business around computation and stuff. And the marketing work together with their agents, Winn & Kennedy, came up with the idea of Smarter Planet. So we exist for smarter planets, smarter cities, smarter transportation, etc. It was so strong concept. It didn't exist inside the company before, but it was so strong marketing brand concept that it helped to change and steer the whole business into that direction. It gave the purpose from the brand perspective for everything they do. So I think it's not always something that is plastered. only, but it could be something that points a way, is visionary way to understand where we could be heading when that is not something that we kind of think internally, but that is something that we are so proud that we can kind of express and share it with everybody.
Yep. I'm sorry, this is the last question for Ville.
Hi, I'm Ilona from Verk Retail. I run a small retail agency, and it's also a question that I encounter every day myself about over-consumerism, conscious consumerism. I work with clients that in trying to help them basically to sell more, but then on the other hand, not to smarter solutions and so forth. How do you, I don't know if you work with many bigger retailers, when the company's sole purpose is to sell more stuff to the world, produce more things, items that we don't need, how do you convince those executives that your bigger purpose is to not produce what you have been producing your entire existence?
Yeah.
To make it harder, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah. Kind of the old me, the more ideological one, probably would have tried hard. Now I think that we need to be realistic. We need to have this kind of positive realism in how we deal with these type of concepts. Understand not everybody can change everything, but you can start to kind of align the business into the new paths, and it's easier again because we know that the old kind of ways of doing business are not doing so well in this kind of digitized software world. So yeah, there are kind of pain points that you can kind of push and see. That's the concept basically. Yeah, that's one good one. Yeah. Exactly.
Thank you, Ville.
Thank you so much.
We've
Yeah.
And now we're moving on to applications of design thinking. The first case is Helsinki Design Week meets Clarion using a design experience as a marketing tool. And I'm asking Tuulia and Reetta from Helsinki Design Week, Tuulia from Clarion to come here. You organized a design experience workshop a little over a year ago and then used the results of that as a kickoff for your overall marketing strategy. Something that sounds very exciting. Tell us how it went. But I'm sorry, you only have 10 minutes to do it because then we'd like to take a few questions. Sure.
Thank you, Jaakko. And thank you for coming here. It's so great to be here. And my name is still Tuulia Hyvärinen. I work for Clarion Hotels. And this is lovely lady Reetta.
Good morning from me as well. My name is Reetta Turtiainen and I'm the producer of the Helsinki Design Week, which started yesterday. So we are the largest design festival in the Nordic countries. During the upcoming still 10 days, we have over 200 events throughout the city, so please join the festival.
Okay, so I need to mention all of you, you have a great chance to get to know our hotel and services better after the studio. Me and my colleague Janne are happy to give you the tour afterwards. And about Clarion and Helsinki Design Week. We started our partnership even before the hotels were open. And last year we were the main partner, and this year just a basic official partner. But also after the event, you have possibility to see the design installations in our lobby area that were produced for Helsinki Design Week. So we have the Clarion and Trey design pop-up shop, and then a design audio chair by Pure Design. And I want to tell you a bit about our values and the base why we are here right now. So we want to create hotels not only for the business travelers, but also for locals. And we see our hotels as living rooms. And we also feel that hotels are so much more than just places to go sleep in. We see them as magical meeting places in everyday life. And also, why is design so important to us at Clarion Hotels? I think we do service designing every day, all the time, when we try to make the best kind of hotel experience for our guests. We use design when we think about and plan the guest's path, when we plan our products, services, concepts, the feeling and the overall experience. So we really believe that design can make a much better hotel experience. And with Helsinki Design Week, we found a joint goal and a joint challenge, which was how to make life better and more communal for the locals here in Helsinki. And from this main challenge, we identified our own challenges at Clarion Hotel that we needed to invest in when we were building a new hotel brand in Finland. And the challenges for us were how to design a better hotel experience, how to design new services for the local community, and how to strengthen our values and brand. And based on these questions, we created, together with Helsinki Design Week, a design experience workshop for the locals in May 2017. And Reetta will tell you more about what we did and how.
Yes, so as Tuulia mentioned, when we started the collaboration, hotel was not yet opened and was recently to be open. And what we basically wanted to do is to bring people together. And the goal of the workshop was to get insights from the customers' needs and what kind of services the hotel could offer besides the kind of the traditional hotel services, what the services and could be, what the local customers could really benefit from. So we invited, in the end we had approximately 40 people here in Clarion Hotel, potential hotel customers and citizens from Jätkäsaari area especially. By discussing with Clarion Hotel, we defined 3 key topics. Around them we had a 2-hour workshop, and the 3 key topics were restaurant, food and terrace, sports, well-being and activities, and program events and themes. So for these 3 themes, we wanted to get insights and ideas from the customers what kind of services we could offer. In the invitation process, we asked participants to think what kind of role they want to have in the workshop. We thought that it's easier for people to think these themes from a certain perspective, and we gave them 3 roles to choose: family, business, or couple. So for 2 hours, we brainstormed and ideated hundreds of ideas from these to these topics and from all of these perspectives. Tuulia tells what happened then.
So the most important part is the results. So from this design experience workshop, we gain hundreds of new service and product ideas from different teams for different target groups. And here on the left top corner, you can see those many post-its that were done during the workshop. We learned a lot about our important target group, the locals. We have so much more better understanding on their needs and what they would want us to do for them. Then we really started a good discussion with locals and strengthened our relationship with them. And we did a quite nice statement that Clarion Hotel really wants to be part of the local community and offer services for them. And from these hundreds of new ideas, we picked 3 ideas as service pilots. And during 1 year, we produced all these 3 service pilots in both hotels. So we did altogether 6 different events in our hotels. And here in the pictures, you can see what we did. So in Clarion Hotel Helsinki, we organized a movie night for families. We got over 400 people sign up for the event with their family, and there were like 300 people joining the event. We showed them a Ristoräppääjä movie that was a great success with some popcorn, candies, coffee, and this was a totally free of charge event. And at Clarion Hotel Helsinki Airport, we did also the movie night, but it was with an afterwork team. We showed some kind of classic comedy from Jim Carrey or whatsoever. And then we produced, together with Helsinki Design Week, a design walking map that we have both in English and in Finnish. And we use this for our guests here in Helsinki and also in both hotels. And then we also did a yoga event that was also free of charge. So we organized one November morning or December morning, and we invited locals to our Sky Room on top of Helsinki on the 16th floor to have a morning yoga session. And also we at the Clarion Hotel Helsinki Airport, we invited the surrounding people from the surrounding offices to have a yoga event one morning. And in addition to all these great ideas and pilots we've done, this is of course a really valuable tool and has been for us when we plan our marketing. And now we are at that point that we are planning next year what we will do in 2019. So we are again using this document and the data that we have from this. So overall, we really believe that design makes a lot better hotel experience for our guests. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic. So there's time for a question or two, depending on how complex they are. While you're thinking, let me ask you, I'm still wondering a little bit, why was it so important for an international business hotel, that's how I look at Clarion, to connect with the locals? This morning as I walked in, they were not locals, they were far from home who were down there.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing with Clarion Hotel. Yes, we are a big international business hotel. We have big facilities for meetings, but that's only the one part of the hotel. If you come to our hotel during weekends, you see a totally different hotel. We have a beautiful kitchen and table restaurant in the house. We have the Sky Room bar that is really important for locals, and a living room bar. So we really have also choices for the locals, and this has become a really great staycation destination for locals. So actually people who live in Jätkäsaari come to accommodate with us during weekends.
Any questions? Well, you're still thinking. A question to Helsinki Design Week. Was this one-off, or are you offering this as a service? Could you do workshops with other companies too?
Yes, definitely. We help we as a festival, we are basically a platform which gives once a year, 11 days in September, an possibility for designers and companies to present their services and products through design, and we help them along the way. So we have been, for example, with the Clarion, our collaboration have been quite all year round. So throughout the year, it's not only focusing on the festival, but we have been helping them to develop their services through design process. And we have events for B2B and for B2C customers as well. So definitely we collaboration with the companies in core of our doing.
Cool. So it's not just a festival, it's a lot of other things too. But thank you so much, Bretta and Tuulia. Great case. Okay, I was supposed to make you move now. This is what it says in my notes. So before I ask Jari Ullakko here, I'll ask all of you to stand up, please. We're not going to dance. But I'm just going to ask you, well, you can just stand there. You can raise your hands to sort of stretch a little bit. But I'll show you one stretch that I personally find super good, super effective when I sit for a long time. This is what I do when I remember to do it. I put my right foot before my left foot, and then I raise my hand, and then I stretch it as high as I can, and then a little bit to my left so that I kind of form an arch or a bow, and then I do it on the other side. Everybody's into this sort of thing. That's cool. And that's it. Now you can congratulate your folks around you, shake hands with two nearest people to you, and then please sit down. Already feels a little looser, doesn't it? Okay, our next case will be presented by Jari Ullakko. He's one of our advertising and marketing superstars in Finland, these days working for Avaus Marketing, and he will take us on the road with SnapScan. Jari, please.
Hello everyone. It's nice to be here. We couple of us from Avaus in here. So what I'm going to show you, just 10 minutes, really brief, just going to be really swift with this one. And it's thank you for Jaakko that not everyone is sleeping now. So we're going to talk about a little bit where advertising is actually going. It's actually really sobering to think that for us working in advertising, people are actually today paying money to avoid what we do as living. And it's true, they do. Just a skip ad button, you pay for that. So you don't see the stuff we do. So how do we overcome this? We in the Avaus, Avaus is probably today more known about marketing automation and data and analytics and so on. But what we do as creatives there, we trying to get before that, how do we get people to sign up and become part of the franchise? Like said, advertising has to create some value. If it doesn't create any value to the end users, I mean us, why would we care? It used to be, the first stage of branding was that we were just telling rational reasoning to people. There was coming all the time in 50s, 60s, 70s, there was coming new things, new stuff. You only needed actually with advertising to make people aware that this is happening, that there's coming television, there's coming radio, there's coming washing machine, there's coming all these new machines. All you needed to do was telling them that these are available in this price. So it was a very rational thing. Then somewhere in 70s, 80s, 90s, we started doing emotional stuff. So loads of added layers became on play. All kinds of superficial things that weren't actually not. I mean, in terms of Nike, they're still running shoes. In 70s, they were telling how the running shoe was made. It was actually an invention that it was done. Then in 80s, 90s, they started telling who uses them and adding these emotional layers into it. Where we're going now is really we go into experiential place. Advertising is becoming service. and service design is going to be the thing, because that's the way you add value into your franchise. So, light bulb is always used as a metaphor for idea. I don't know why. Anyway, today we can, okay, this is an old-fashioned light bulb. You can't even buy those anymore, or if you do, it's not good. But anyway, from the regular light bulbs, we can charge 50 cents. If we're adding a little bit more experience design into them, we can start getting colors into them, different purposes for different lights, and different use in them. So we can charge 5 euros. But what we do now, you go to local store and you get these light bulbs with intelligence. So you actually steer these light bulbs with your mobile phone. Just go to Bauhaus or K-Rauta or any of these stores and you find those there. What you do then is not only that you pay a tenfolded price for that premium light bulb, but what you get also is that we're not only paying the money for that light bulb, we're actually also paying our data. We're giving the data to Philips so that Philips can start using that data. They know actually when we have the lights on, which color we're using, and so on and so on. So they can start having a dialogue with us. They actually know how many hours we have been using it. So they can start sending messages to us that, well, you almost end of this life cycle, so get a new one, and so on and so on. So you can buy those same light bulbs from Amazon, but because you buy that franchise, so you buy it from Philips. And that's how brands can actually survive when Amazon and the retailers are taking over. So it's about data and how to use that data and how to get to personalized marketing with that data. So the case that I was supposed to show you. There's an industrial manufacturer in Finland that has been manufacturing tires since 1939. So their R&D has been all about what sort of studs do we put that, what sort of rubber we're using, and their whole system has been about all the new technologies, all the digital tools that have come to our lives. They've been using those things for their internal efficiencies. I mean, think about S-Market or K-Market. How much do they know about you? They know actually everything, because every receipt that you're buying and you're using your card, they know everything that you have been buying. But have they ever used that data for your benefit? Mostly they have been using that data for their benefit, their internal efficiencies, their category management, and so on and so on. But none of that has come to us. This is shifting now. It's happening now. Now these corporations are starting to bring that value back to us. And this, what they could do, I mean, tire manufacturer, they have been working in silos. They've been doing everything else in the company. The rest of the company has been doing one thing, and then the marketing department has been doing another thing. I mean, you were talking about purpose. There's no purpose there. But you can add purpose into there, because why are they making tires? Because good tires saves lives. So you can easily find that purpose there. So let's take a look at this case video, because it pretty much explains what it's all about.
If my little girl had been in the car with me that day, then she would be dead. I ended up having a head-on collision with a van that was coming in the opposite direction.
So what you do with invention like this, you're actually turning a almost 100 years old industrial conglomerate that is actually shifting tires, making them in masses, selling them in masses, marketing them in masses, into a service provider. That creates value for all of us. And what happened with this one is that they have been starting this now in about, I think it's about 10 to 20 places in Finland, and it's developing all the time. They're coming more and more parking garages and so on. And what we get there is, of course, the dialogue. We start with asking that, okay, your tires were in that shape. And actually 25% of the people who have been driving over this have been buying tires from Nokian Tires. So the pool is huge. Also, what you get is that you get in dialogue with the clients and consumers. Because, you know, when it's minus degrees in Lohja next night, we can start sending messages that, okay, guys, it's going to be minus degrees next morning, so be careful out there. So we start creating value to people, and it's one-to-one personalized marketing. The interesting thing with this is that Total Oil Corporation took contact with Nokian Tires a couple of months ago, and they want to apply this into all of their petrol stations around Europe. So what is this tire manufacturer doing now? They're not anymore manufacturing tires, they're actually selling services. It's a total shift in the business. And I mean, we can do those things. Think about your clients or your companies. What sort of services could you actually develop with new technologies and digitalized tools that could turn actually their business into a total different place? And what you're selling is you're charging premium for this then after that. Interestingly, Nike, which we're using as an example in here, Nike Fuel Band is totally this. What it does, it actually sells you the project of New York Marathon. Go and run New York Marathon in 2020, and you have this Nike Fuel Band in your hand, and you're actually following the franchise whole way to 2020. And you may buy your sneakers from Amazon, but you're still tied into the brand of Nike. And this is what these services do. They create value for us, which keeps us connected to the brand. So let's make, I mean, people are paying money to avoid what we do as living. So we better get something done which actually people care about. Thank you.
Thank you, Jari. Again, we have time for a question or two. I have a question. Okay. What was your role in all of this that you just showed? Or did you just sort of take a good example? I bet you had something to do with this. What did you do?
We actually made the client to understand first of all this thing that actually you have to create services in order to be valuable to people. And then we found out from England a startup that actually had this technology. And then we introduced this technology to this corporation and this corporation to this technology. And we were matchmakers there. And then we started making the whole communication concept around it. And then we had different companies doing different parts of this one. Because this is how this economy works nowadays. You're working with different companies in interaction and together with other companies. There's no single company that does everything together alone. You need subcontractors, you need freelancers, and so on and so on. And this is, by the way, how we want to work at Avaus, more and more with freelancers.
You became an ad guy in the old world. To be able to function and still have a job in this new world, what are the key competencies that you've had to acquire? Tell us one or two.
I'm actually educated as industrial designer, so I have always had a little bit different view on advertising and marketing and communications. It actually really pissed me off somewhere in early 2000 when I realized that advertising is only putting lipstick on a gorilla. You know, everything the company's done, they have done wrong, and then when the stuff doesn't sell, then they call to advertising agency. Could you put some lipstick on this one? Could you dress her up? But it's still the same. Sorry, I was almost swearing. It's still the same gorilla out there.
Okay, thank you so much. Jari Ullakko from Avaus. And now we're moving on to running your website right. If you're posed the question, who runs your website? You might think that it's a superficial, please come here, superficial question, and you have an obvious answer like, it's our agency, it's our marketing department, it's Kalle, it's me. So you kind of know, but do you really know? You would expect that Slush organization that built by the digital natives to other digital natives, very super design-oriented organization, would know all of this. But they need a little help. And the man that gave him a little help is here with us now, Julius Haukkasalo from Evermade. What did you do with Slush?
Yes. Hey everyone. So as he told you guys, I'm Julius Haukkasalo from Evermade, a digital agency based here in Helsinki, founded in a friend's garage 8 years ago. Now we're about 30 people in Lönnrotinkatu. And I'm going to be telling you a little bit about a story that relates to Slush and relates to a topic that probably a lot of you are familiar with, so websites. That's my big passion, and in the past 10 years I've worked roughly 200 different website projects, web service projects, e-commerce projects, so I'm quite familiar with this topic, and I've seen a lot of challenges that people are facing there. But to start things off, I have a little question to think about. A marketing website should be run by A, web developers like us, or web designers, or B, marketing communications. You don't need to show hands or clap. I know we Finns feel, ashamed to do things in public, but I think a lot of people here in this room would agree with me that maybe the right answer should be B, while the reality quite often is A. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story of how things with Slush happened a few years ago. Everything started with a completely fine website a couple of years ago. We had made the Slush website for a couple of years. We had won a couple of awards from UX. The users were happy. Everything was fine, looked nice. But then we realized that something is kind of missing. And the way that we came to this realization was we're actually sharing an office with the Slush team. And the marketing team were quite frequent visitors of our office. It took them about 7 seconds with a little circle in the middle to get from their office to our office. And if you don't know much about Slush, I can tell you that it's a very, very dynamic and flexible organization. It is an organization that has taken the essence of the lean startup approach, continuously iterating, failing fast, learning from mistakes, and changing things. And what that meant for us as the creators of their website was a lot of design work, a lot of coding, and to be frank, every single day someone from their office would walk into our office, knock on the shoulder of one of us and say, hey, I need this little change to our website. Could you do this like now, maybe? And it happened a couple of times. We're like, okay, that's fine, we'll do it right away. And we had never really hit this obstacle with any of our other clients. And we were thinking like, why is this so different? Is Slush that different? And one answer is, yeah, they are kind of different, but they were also very close to us. We knew all of them by name. They were in the next room. We were sort of the same team with them. So they didn't have any sort of gap or any sort of block to come and talk to us. And we came to a realization that the issue that we have with the site, even though that it's nice and it's functioning well and the content is great and everything, the issue that we realized that was in place was that we as designers and developers were in charge of the Slush website. Not the marketing team, not the content creators. It was us. And every little thing that we did, they had to wait for. Every little thing, little iteration, change that they wanted to the site, outside of course, like changing the content, changing the images, or adding a new blog post. But everything structure related or everything that they wanted to iterate on the site had to go through us. And I think I'm not the only one thinking that there might be some other people in this room who've sometimes needed a change to a website or a web service, and they've had to go to the agency, maybe email them or have a phone call, and then wait for 3 days to get a response, and then wait 5 more days to get an actual, coder in place and do those changes that you needed. That were simple structural changes or something like that you could do. And Slush has great marketing specialists who understand what, the users that they have, the visitors of their event, and they know what makes those people tick. And the fact that they needed us to do those changes just didn't make any sense to us. So we realized that we need to do something. And that's where we started to really define the issue and realized that it's this. So how did we start working on this or start fixing this challenge? Well, we organized co-creation sessions. In our case, it meant, Friday evening, 5 beers gone, and someone from the Slush team comes to our office and says, hey guys, we need a new change to this little thing. And we're like, no more changes, now we need to change the whole way that we're working. And so we incorporated the Slush team into the design process. We wanted to really understand what the future goals are for their organization and for their event, and who are the people really managing the site, or who should be managing and owning and leading that site. And what we realized is, first of all, they want to be an international event, which means that we need to build something that is scalable, and something that if there's 20 events around the world, we can't be the people who are making all those changes to all those sites. That makes no sense, even though they probably would be good business. And also, the people who are managing those sites, they're not designers, they're not developers, they are marketing people, they're content creators. And that's where we started. And we did some research about what other pre-existing tools are on the market that could give that flexibility to admins. There are great tools for design people, Squarespace, Wix, these sort of things. But there's upsides and downsides to all those. And mostly, in this case, we found that there's no tool that could really help them do that. So we started thinking about what we want to do and what we don't want to do. So yeah, the marketing team should be able to create, edit, transform the pages as they see fit. They need to have a flexibility into using those sites without a need for the developer or a designer that you don't always have at hand. But then again, they are marketing people. Not everybody is a UI designer. So a site that has won awards for UX, we don't want them to have all those options of changing everything. And this is what we felt that was not in place in many of those pre-existing tools. So we wanted to keep the consistency with the brand experience, with the event experience on that site, but still give the power to the admins. And we started by prototyping this. And basically the old way of doing websites is very much template-based. So you have a template for the home page, you have a template for the service page or an event page, and that's how it goes. And you don't really have that much, variety into what you can do as a content creator. So what we did was we basically just ditched that template idea and moved into this idea of blocks. And I like an analogy of Lego blocks in here. So Lego has created us these lovely little chunks of plastic that we can then use in any sort of shape and form, move them around, take another one that looks a little bit different, a little bit different color. We can't really mold that. It's not Play-Doh, but we can still be quite creative in how we use it. And that's what we started to do. We found a good technical solution to do it. And in the end, if the Slush team wanted a new landing page, they wanted a new campaign page, they wanted to organize a new event, or even go to another country to organize a whole different set of events, they could do that in a blink of an eye. And I have a little simple demo of how that works. This is a few years old, but it really explains how easy and fast it is to do this. Let's see. So here's an example of how they could build a new page, whether it's a landing page or a campaign or just edit an existing one. So we have a set of blocks that we've built for them that those content creators then can use anywhere they want on that site. We, as designers and developers, have given them the boundaries in which they can move around, but they still have the flexibility to just drag and drop and add things into place, add content. They can't change typography or colors or anything like that. But we really wanted to hit the sweet spot between flexibility and a consistent brand experience. And let's see. What we managed to do was basically completely change the way the Slush site was managed. It was content creators that were now in charge of the site. They were running the show, not us. And today, a few years after, or even just a half a year after we've implemented the changes, I had no clue what's going on in the site. It was the content creators that were running the show. Right now, if I go to slush.org saying, hey, we built this site, I'm always surprised about what I'm seeing. And it leaves us more chances and more space to ideate, concept, create new things, analyze how the site is performing, and make changes accordingly. And it makes the client, or allows the client to work as they want to, fast, iterative, learn from mistakes and make changes inside that marketing team without a need for us to jump in. And that's really the power that this method or this philosophy has allowed. And it makes me super happy that I have no clue what's going on with the sites that we're building these days, because that means that we succeeded in what we wanted to do. And it's not just the Slush Finnish site, but Slush had big aspirations of being a global event, and they managed to do that. Today they have multiple events in different parts of the globe, in Beijing, in Tokyo, Singapore, Helsinki, etc. And those marketing teams all around the world are handling those sites with the same way that the Helsinki team is doing. Again, we're building the tool for that marketing team to take and run with. But if I go to Tokyo Slush site, I have no idea what's going on. These are some screenshots that I pulled like 2 days ago from the sites. I feel like they all look like they come from the same family, but they still all have the different content, different structure, different message, and that's exactly what we want to do. And what we've learned is, well, number one thing that we learned, why haven't we done this before? Okay, now we need to do this for every client. And that's what we've been doing the past few years. We've been giving this same tool for companies like Rovio. They used to have tens or dozens of websites for every single Angry Birds game that came out. Today they have one solution, and they have their art directors and marketing people creating these new sites on the fly. They don't need an agency to do that. City of Helsinki is moving to this direction with our cooperation. We have a bunch of other ones. Helsinki Design Week is using it. So it's one thing that we learned as we need to do this for every single client. And one thing that I learned as a designer, a key thing was to create meaningful solutions, we need to really empathize with the client. For us, it was easy because we were 7 seconds away from them and they came to us. But what we learned is a few years ago that we need to go to them because not every client is in the next room. So spending time with the clients and seeing what their pain points and challenges are is a very good start. Getting to know them well enough for them to tell you what they don't like about you. That's an important topic as well. And I would really like to leave you with one thing to everybody here to think about. You probably have a website or are running a company website or have taken a part in creation of a website or service. And just the question that I'd like to ask you is who runs your website and why? Is it you? Is it the content creator? Is it a marketing person? Or is it a developer in an agency? If it is so, then, take a look at if that makes sense. And, you can always contact me if you feel like there's something here for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julius. Okay, Jari has a question.
So what we want to do is create a tool, create a hub for any type of content. So the things that we do are totally custom built and developed and designed to any sort of use case. So it might have integrations to social media or HR systems or CRM systems or whatever sort of systems needed. And those are then incorporated and put into place for those content creators to use. So yeah. Sure, yeah. We can manage, we can do that.
There's a question.
So when I was working before with some other developers for our website, they really actually charged for all the changes that we were doing, and they actually enjoyed this benefit of having more money coming every once in a while. And then for you as a company, now that you are giving this opportunity for the marketing people themselves to manage the website, are there any financial incentives for you, or is it actually any better for you in financial terms, or are you just pursuing your purpose as from the other presentation before?
That's a great question, one that usually springs to people's minds. There is no clear financial benefit into doing the way that we do. We are losing revenue in the sort of small changes type of thing. But what that then allows for us, because it's work that people usually don't want to tend to pay for that much, that it's work that developers and designers are not that excited about doing. And it's always work that the client needs right now, fast. Is 15 minutes enough? No, I need it now. So it's really work that we feel shouldn't be done by anybody, shouldn't be built by anybody. And it also allows us more time to really create solutions and functionality and design that helps the companies forward rather than fixes little sort of things here and there. So in a way, there's no direct incentive. It's once we've done it, it's the clients to use. There's no licenses or no fees or anything like that. It's just our philosophy and the way that we do so.
Oh, there's a question again.
Just a very quick question. Do you also build these type of tools for e-com platforms, like just honest-to-God online stores?
Yes, so we have a few different platforms that we're currently using WordPress is one of those, HubSpot is another, and then we have a few e-commerce solutions that we also incorporate this same exact way of working on. So yes.
And one more. What is the biggest change in habits or skills or attitudes that has to happen in the marketing department so that they take the ownership instead of dumping it all on you?
I don't know if there really is one. I think every single time I've talked about this to a marketing or marketeer or a content creator, I've always felt like it's a sigh of relief in a way, that there's like, yeah, this is exactly what I've wanted. I don't want to wait for this thing to happen. One thing that, you know, of course, when you're building something that's in a way sort of modular, you need to understand how it all works, but I don't see any sort of big fundamental philosophical sort of boundaries. So it's usually a happy change to the marketing team.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julius Haukkasalo from Evermade. Okay, now we're moving on to our final act during this morning. I'd like to invite up here two influencers, Alexis and Ladi Sahko. Could you please come up here? Let's have a little PowerPoint side chat. Okay, we can keep passing this around too.
Maybe we'll pass. Let's see. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, maybe we'll pass the mic.
Yeah, let's do that. Not drop it, just pass it. I think it's better that you guys kind of introduce yourselves, what you do and how you do it, since I was like trying to figure out just to like what tags I could put on you, and there were several, like your Instagrammers, your YouTubers, your consultants, your videographers. You do lots of things, but can you first tell us like about your own channels, your own thing? To whom are you doing it, and what is it? Alexis.
Wow, that was an easy question. Okay, I know. Where do you begin? So I'm Alex. I do a little bit of everything. I do video content creation for different brands. I plan concepts for a lot of my clients. So when I think I have a good idea or something that could be really unique or inspiring, I try to basically not persuade, but excitement, and just create excitement for them to just want to take a chance and do something new. I do photos. I also host a little bit. What else? I have a DJ gig coming up, which is exciting, my first DJ gig.
Is there such a thing as #1 channel for you?
I think Instagram would be my #1 channel. So through Instagram, my entire aesthetic is positivity and happiness and color. And I really always want to try and inspire my followers to basically do the same and to sort of be their own hero in their own life and to take bold chances and to do bold things, because it is so scary to do that, you guys. And I think we can all agree to that. Can I get like a show of hands, like who's scared to make big, bold moves? And we're all in the same boat. So my whole thing is like, if I can inspire somebody to do something different and to stand for what they are and live life through happiness, then that's my goal. I hope that answered it.
Sure, live my life through happiness. And then there's Ladi, who lives her dream through her channels. Can you try to answer the same question, like what do you do it and to whom do you do it?
Hi, thanks. So I'm Lottie. My Instagram's called, or my social media channels are called She Lives Her Dream. My Instagram bio actually says I'm working on living my dreams. So it's a journey rather than a thing that I'm doing already. So what I try to do is to inspire young women especially to make their dreams come true, which is a big thing. And I do that by sharing my own story. So I have got a bucket list of things that I want to do in my life, and I've been trying to make them come true. And by doing it through my own story, that has kind of become my expertise. So what I do for brands as well is story branding. So I consult brands on bringing out their personal, their individual strengths, their own human individuality, their stories, either through their own employees, their clients, or by working with influencers as well. And design has a lot to do with that, because it can be a visual thing, such as my Instagram. I'm a very aesthetic person. I'm a graphic designer myself. Or it can be a very individually designed user experience or story. So story branding.
If we start with your Instagram feed, has a very distinctive look. How did you come up with that design? Was it intuitive or through trial and error, or did you have a master plan for what we are seeing now?
That's a good question. I remember I started Instagram 4 years ago because my little sister told me, Lotte, you're so old-fashioned, you don't have Instagram yet. So I started doing Instagram. And one thing that I noticed very soon, and I was so annoyed. I remember, I was like, the accounts that are really big, that are growing, keep reposting the same picture over and over again. All pictures on the accounts look the same. Is what I thought at first. In the end, I realized they have a theme. They are recognizable. They have a strength. When they pop up on my feed, I recognize them instantly. I know whose picture it is. And that's a good thing. That's something I recognized. And as you said about yourself, me too, I'm quite a happy person, I'd say. And I mean, I even dress like my Instagram feed, so it is a very natural thing for me, the color theming. But I don't think it has to be a color theme. It can be something, like for you, I would say it's your clothing, but something that feels like a part of yourself that you can use to brand yourself as well.
Same question to you. How did you come up with the look?
Okay. So my style, obviously, it's ever-changing. I love color. I'm really inspired by different places in the world. So I think my aesthetic the whole time was, I don't necessarily need to have a plan or a color scheme. I just have to kind of feel what fits the vibe and the mood and the tone in general. So if I find myself in a place that's bright yellow and I love it, it's going on the feed for sure. And I think the tone and the mood comes back to, again, like the captions that I write as well. So I spend a lot of time doing things with captions, saying something that really matters that can hopefully reflect or connect with somebody. So I think that's my aesthetic, just keeping that within what I'm saying. But definitely, I think it's absolutely important, because with clients, a lot of them go check out my Instagram, and then they get a sense of who I am and what I am, hopefully. And I think it's sort of like a teaser of what's to come. So if you decide to work with me, you're into new things, you're into color, you want to maybe take a chance and work with somebody who has ideas that are a little bit outside of the box. So that's what I try to portray on my feed.
Now this is working.
Oh.
Okay. Do you ever think of the person, not the customer, but the person who is viewing your content when you're designing it? Like, is it all about you, or is it about the people you're doing it to too?
So again, I think back to the captions, I'm definitely thinking about followers. I'm thinking about whoever feels inspired and wants to connect. I want those people there, and I think the more of us that are out there, the better. So I'm sorry, what was the question? I'm trying to gather my thoughts.
When designing the look and feel of your feeds, are you just doing what you want to do, or are you thinking of the people who you want to attract?
Right. So again, with the captions, I think that's the thing where I'm thinking about others, and I'm thinking about what I can perhaps relay to them that can make their day better, or that can help them maybe with a cool new business idea, or so on and so forth. So it's definitely not all about me, and I know that Instagram can tend to be sort of self-centered, but I think that through stories, for example, that's where you get the real juice on Alex, and you see me really raw and real. And so, you know, the gallery portion is really one side of it, but I urge you guys to really look into people and see their stories, because I think that there's a lot more under the surface, and that's how I really connect and talk to my audience and keep it really real.
How about you, Lottie? The same question. When did you think of sort of positioning your content when you came up with the look, or is it just about what you like?
So we're talking about the look now.
Yeah,
The visuals.
Visuals, sure.
Positioning of myself in a way that I wanted to do something like I created the preset myself instead of buying one. So positioned myself as an individual, which I think is a strength, especially right now in the time of artificial intelligence and stuff. Everything that's very human and that only you can bring to the table makes you stronger. Same question. What was the question?
It's not early anymore. Yeah, you kind of answered, but still, my question is, like, when you came up with the design, the look and feel of that feed, were you only thinking about what you like in this world, what's important to you, how you want to present yourself, or were you thinking that there is an audience out there who might like this sort of thing, so let's tweak it a little bit, and then I get the right people to follow me?
Really good question in the way it's a bit like what you said about captions. So after doing Instagram daily for 4 years now, you of course start to see a pattern. So so for example, I know which pictures are gonna create engagement, what people are interested in, because I've started to notice that. So it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, everything that has a face. So whenever I want to say something meaningful and I actually have something in the caption that I want to use to reach out to people, to evoke emotions, I'm going to use one of those pictures. Whenever I just want to share what I'm eating, then I'm going to share what I'm eating.
What happens then when you go multi-channel? You're using several channels and building your feed, your brand there. How does that affect the design? And are you designing sort of also now we're getting into design thinking a little bit. Are you designing a path that maybe they'll find me first here, and then I do this, and they continue on there, and then I engage them more? And
yeah, that's a good one actually. Because I think there's a lot of thinking that goes into that. For me personally, I think a brand has to be consistent. You have to make yourself recognizable, you have to stand out. You always have to make it easy for the clients, consumers, followers as well. So you want to be recognizable. So I'm using a similar color scheme on all my channels. I'm using a similar tone of voice on all my channels because that's who I am. But I also don't want to be boring. I don't want to do the same thing on all channels. So I've kind of divided that up into means of purpose. So Instagram is where it all comes together, but Instagram is also very visual. Then I'd say I have, or whenever I have something to say, whenever I have like depth, I write that on my blog. So that's where the information goes. Whenever it comes to my personality, I used to have Snapchat. Snapchat has unfortunately died. So now it's YouTube. That's where you can actually meet me as a person. But they all have a similar look and feel to them. So they work hand in hand, but add to it. That's what I would say.
how about you, Alex? What have you learned when you've added new channels to it?
So I'm currently working on a vlog, and the thing with that, yes, ooh, I will let you all know when it's ready. So with the vlog, I think the most important thing for me is to show the real behind the scenes of what I actually do, because I feel like a lot of people, they see me somewhere and then they see the feed and they think this is who she is, this is what she is. That's a very small portion of what I am, and I think it's very important to remember that what we're seeing are just, like I said, they're just really beautiful galleries, and they're coordinated coordinated and there's thought put behind it. But again, if we go to the story platform, which is video and clips, that's going to be a lot more in the moment and authentic, and that's what I'm trying to do with the vlog as well. So showing people, you know, me leaving at 6 a.m., lugging my gear and my tripod and all my things with me, and like setting up. And a lot of the times, even now, clients will be like, wow, you shot this and you edited this and you did everything, because it's kind of almost shocking for them to see what goes in behind the scenes. So I urge everybody here that has like a business or a company to also really let people in and see what you guys go through, because there's a lot of value and merit in that. And, you know, so that's important to me when it comes to the different platforms. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Just out of interest to see where this conversation will be going as well, or how you'll be using this. Who of you is here for their personal brand, who has a blog, has social media, has YouTube channels that they want to work on? Could I have hands? And who's here because of a company, because they work for a different brand that's not themselves? That's super interesting. Yeah, thank you. Because, I mean, we're talking about our personal channels right now, but what I think is super important to know is that we are brands, and the same thing that go into, for example, She Lives Her Dream as a brand, works for a company as well. So at the moment, I'm working for the German-Finnish Chamber of Commerce, and for them as well, I'm trying to establish a visual identity and a tone of voice and things that are recognizable whenever they post or we post on Facebook, Twitter, so that people instantly know who it is. So whatever we say about ourselves as bloggers counts for brands as well, just to keep that in mind.
But if I'm a brand and you're an influencer, I want to work with you, and you have a very strong brand of your own. Let's say I'm Red Cross. There is only one way to use the Red Cross logo the right way, or their trademark. It doesn't fit into your visuals. Like, how could we cooperate? How do you, like, whose brand book are you reading when you're cooperating?
I'm gonna make it fit in. Yeah.
What's your experience?
Is it a collaboration or is it a book job? Because if it's a book job, you got what you paid for. So let's just start there. If you want something specific, we'll do it. But I think the thing to know is when you do it with me, that you're going to get a little extra something. And so I'm going to be super proactive, and I'm going to want to help elevate the project to be something really great and interesting. But obviously, the client says, you know, here's our guidelines, here's what we are, and this is what it is. If it's a collaboration, then definitely I think it's 50-50 nearly. And I think the whole point of a collaboration is to really grab the essence of the influencer that you have chosen to work with. And if you're going against the grain, and if you're kind of saying, this is too much, or your clothes are too crazy, or something doesn't work, well, then you've chosen the wrong influencer. So I think it's very important to do your homework with that. But I think that using the right influencer who can bring new light and new, you know, a new voice to your product, to your company, I think that's extremely valuable. So I think companies should do that more, and I think especially with collaborations, yeah, you definitely just come together with that.
Let's continue on that theme just still a little bit. So you have to find the right influencer. Based on your experience, and this is for both of you, like, when does it work beautifully? When does it, like, really, you hit it and it works and you get great results, and what to avoid?
I think when your values are in place. So when you guys have the same kind of thinking or maybe aesthetic or vision for yourselves, I think that's when it works out beautifully. So for me, it would be incredibly hard to go to a company where, I don't know, maybe if the collaboration started off wrong and I felt that there was a lot of people saying what we can't do instead of what we can do, or if it's like, you know, a situation where people are sort of undermining each other, the energy's not right for me, then I would say that's a bad collaboration. And I try to kind of go with people that let me be me and really appreciate me for being me, because that is your number one thing. That's what you really need to know. It always comes down to you. And the people that want to work with you, they will find you, and that is just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's what I think too. As soon as your values go hand in hand and it doesn't look like an ad, it works. So I can point out, this is a collab, that's a collab, that's a collab. Does it look like one? And I think that's when it works.
Now our audience has a chance to join us if you'd like to. There's a question again, young gentleman in the first row.
Yes. So when I checked out your profiles, and for example, Alex, you also openly wrote that you're an influencer on your profile, right? I am not sure what do you think about that, but when did you come to realize of yourself as an influencer? And then when you have, what kind of do you feel any sort of responsibility for the content you produce and the people you're interacting with, or how do you take this status on you, and how does it work out in practice?
Okay. I actually have a very beautiful story because I was preparing for med school entrance exams when I was starting my Instagram because I wanted to help people influence in a way, make their lives better, and I didn't like medicine. I hated it, but I thought that was the only way to do it. And I was doing Instagram for fun. And one day a girl commented on my post saying, "You've made my life so much better. I'm so much more positive because of your posts. Like, you've changed my attitude towards negative things." And then I was like, whoa, like I can actually do what I enjoy. And I mean, I hate the term influence, but in this way it's good. I can actually touch people and have a change in their lives by doing what I enjoy and what I'm good at, by spreading positivity. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. So if I can influence, if I actually have the power to do that, I want to do it in the most positive way possible. Yeah.
Okay, so going back, when did you realize that you were, well, okay, so I don't know if I've even realized that yet, to be honest, because I think that I'm always just thinking about what I think would be beautiful or what I think makes me feel inspired or makes me feel good. So I recently added that there just because I feel like it gives companies a guideline as to all the things that they can maybe pursue when it comes to doing a collaboration or working together. So it's tough because influencer also has, sometimes negative connotations to that word. So I'm just honored that anybody would want to know something from my life or to share the journey or to be part of it. I'm just extremely honored every time that I get a message from someone that says, "You inspired me." This woman sent me a message recently. She was shopping for her wedding, and she said that all her friends had told her that her wedding dress was absolutely awful and it was too much and it was too crazy. I know. And this is this woman's wedding. You know what I mean? Like, do what you want on your wedding day at least. And she wrote me this really heartfelt message, and she said, "What should I do? Because you don't seem to care what people think when you put on your clothes. You do what feels right for you." And that is true. And it's taken me a really long time to get to this place. So I can be very sympathetic to that. I told her, "Please send me a picture of this dress. I want to see what's going on." And she sent it to me, and it was not anything crazy. It was beautiful. It was silver. It was what she wanted to wear, and she looked amazing in it. And I encouraged her to do so. And then she sent me photos from her wedding day wearing the dress, and she said, "Thank you for inspiring me to go out there and do what was right for me." So that's all I want from that experience, to be honest. Yeah.
Great story. Thank you so much. It's been great, but this is coming to an end. I'm sorry. And you're still going to be around for a few minutes, so please. Thank you so much, Lottie and Alex. I think we had a great morning. First, we talked about purpose. We all need that, and the teams we work with need that. The companies we want to work for need that, and we need buy-in from the C-level to really concentrate on this to make it a reality. Then we looked at some applications of design thinking, how to involve the community in what you're doing, how to think of advertising as actually a service, and how to redesign the marketing organization so that they can own their digital marketing and websites. And then we talked about how to do influencer marketing right. So I think that's a pretty good package. And I want to thank you, you speakers, one more time, and the audience. Fantastic that we had a great morning and such a good attendance. I'd still like to have Inna Pirjatta here to sort of close off the the day. But before I do that, I also want to thank Avaus, Evermade, Clarion, and Helsinki Design Week for making it all possible. And now, Inna Pirjetta.
Thank you, Jaakko. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And the next events are already planned. So the next Ping Studio is going to be a very interesting topic, the Generation Z. And the invitation will be coming in our next week's newsletter. And as you saw, this studio was full booked, so you should reserve your spot right away. And then about this responsibility, a really good question in the end. We are having a specific event for influencers coming in the end of October. And then we are having a second English-speaking studio coming as a Slush side event. So this was now Helsinki Design Week side event, and then next time Slush side event. So let's see what we will come up with then. But then we are talking about data-driven storytelling. Thank you so much, and please don't hesitate to ask us for help when reaching influencers. Thank you.